it was a number line that we wanted to crunch, and I spoke to 10 people, and digital marketing is how we elect our officials. Digital marketing is how everybody does business. And I gather from my teenage kids, digital marketing is how you now do commerce and have social discourse. So of course, I am not an expert on digital marketing, but I am smart enough to know who the experts are. So I want to introduce Jonathan from Spark Outbound, coming to us live.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me today. So today I'm going to talk about essentially how to prioritize and I'm just going to turn it up. All right, is that better? Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to put the pieces in place and how to prioritize your efforts to build a six-figure pipeline. And so, as a quick introduction, I do want to move through this rather quickly, and want to have some time. If people have questions at the end, I'm happy to try to answer those. But as a quick introduction to myself, I am the CEO and founder of Spark Outbound. We've been around since 2018. We work with a lot of B2B service providers and B2B product developers, as well as franchise brands around the US and the UK. And so some of those figures there, so we generate several thousand leads per month across all of our client base. And that does turn into, obviously, a lot of potential revenue opportunities for our clients. And we view ourselves really as the conversation starter. We are the piece of the puzzle to get interested prospects in touch with our clients. And so this session today is really designed for people who are focused in the B2B space, business service providers, products, platforms, communities, things like that. And then as far as a mindset goes for who this will resonate with, I think will be somebody who is ready to invest in their business. And that can be invest financially or time, right? So there's always trade-offs, time and money. And so in all of this presentation, we're going to focus on that. And then obviously we're talking about growth, so people who are looking to grow their business. So today we want to talk about really these four things. How do you prioritize your efforts? And that can be based off your business life cycle stage. That, where is your business actually? Also thinking about everything that we talk about today can be viewed as a circular process, right? So it's not just that you start at point A and go to point Z. You may have to revisit point B or point C regularly as you grow your business. As always, testing is a huge part of digital marketing. Things always change. That's the one constant in digital marketing, is that it will definitely change. And things that work today may or may not work as well in 3, 6, 9, and 12 months from now. And then one of the biggest things that we see people have challenges with is not giving digital marketing enough time. So you have to have enough time to see the results play out in many cases. And so as far as definition of six-figure pipeline, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but just in case somebody is not sure what that means, it's generating conversations, it's having people that are aware of your business, they know who you are, they've shown some level of interest, and the expected revenue from those people would equal $100,000 in a year, right? And so there's 4 priorities in this presentation. And so the first priority is, I would argue, the most important, but thinking from a cyclical standpoint, this is also the part that you may have to revisit the most often. And that is your audience and messaging. So when you're thinking about an audience in the B2B space specifically, you're thinking about the company, the types of companies you want to work with, so your products or services are most ideal for. But also you're thinking of the contact within those companies that you need to reach. to be able to start a conversation, and they're going to be the person who either makes the decision or they're going to take your product or service to a person who does make the decision. And so when you think about defining those characteristics, those demographics, um, there's going to be specific characteristics, and these are examples of things that you would, if you're in LinkedIn, if you're working with data tools, you're going to see these as options for how you refine your audience. If you have a tool that has a business audience, what I would suggest when thinking of these, some of these are very basic, right? If you serve the New York area, then you're obviously looking for businesses in New York. If you serve the nationwide, obviously you're looking that way. Some of this stuff is very basic, but I think the difference will be found when you get further down this list and you start thinking of life cycle events that are happening with your prospects. You're thinking of business things that are happening that are going to be a motivating factor, right? A good example is when your service helps a certain part of the company, and that company that's your prospect has now brought in a new person in that role, right? That would work with you. That can be a good indicator that they're ready for a change as well. This new person's going to come in and make changes. When you're talking about those people in the roles and the personas, things like years in their position or years of experience in their role also could be an indicator. You may, in that same example, you may look for that change, element to happen. And so you're looking for people who have been in that role at a short period of time. There are other clients we've worked with who are the opposite. They look for legacy companies who are kind of behind the times, and they want to come in and help them with technology. So they're actually looking for a person who's been in their role and worked with that company for a long time. Those things are things you can find in LinkedIn. So you can refine by LinkedIn how long somebody's been in their position, or how long they've been with their company. So this, the creativity, this is a very static, basic list of characteristics. But the creativity you can bring to this process will be the biggest difference in your effectiveness. If you can define truly the motivations and the things that make your ideal client stand out from just people generally in the industry or companies like that you typically work with, when you start to identify the things that really make a difference. And so that ties into the messaging. So when you do figure out who that ideal client is, what makes them stand out, and you want to be able to create a message that speaks to their unique situation. You want to focus on the benefit you provide or the problem that you solve. Also, if you're doing this directly outreaching them, so that could be on LinkedIn, email, or cold calling on the phone, for instance, you want to be concise and to the point. So you have to really refine that elevator pitch, for lack of a better phrase. Always also, if you're doing outreach, follow-ups are key, right? So there's a lot of stats out there on this, but a small percentage of new businesses won from the first interaction, the first time you contact somebody. That really takes perfect timing and perfect situation that you're reaching that person right when they need you. The majority of businesses earn through follow-ups. It could be, I've heard situations where 27 follow-ups, right, led to a follow-up. We looked at about 18 months, and we sent about 600,000 emails, and we looked at what step did the person take the action. And so it was actually the second email in that sample was by and large the most effective step for getting the meeting or the next conversation, but also third through sixth had a significant percentage as well. So definitely think of how can you progress that message. Don't just send them the same message. Think about how to be a human and how you can progress that message to them. And then try to personalize it, especially if you're doing research on your prospects. Try to make it as relevant to them as an individual as possible. And so I'm going to just leave this here, but each section I've kind of taken some examples of common options. If you were going to go, if you're starting from scratch, right, and you need to find somebody to help you with your messaging, You could go find a copywriter. There's a variety of places where you can find those people. So I've listed a few here. And typically $10 to $50 an hour is what we see there in that space, but it could be higher or lower depending on how specialized what you do is. You obviously, if you're very specialized, you need somebody who understands how to write for you. So moving on to priority two, my recommendation for priority two, if you're a small business just getting started, is once you have messaging that you're confident is accurate, you've identified that these are my ideal clients, I'm going to now try to go out and proactively get them. And this is really speaking to that person who grew their business through referrals, right? So I've always been a referral person. Now I'm ready to take action. The most cost-effective, the easiest to start, easiest to maintain next step would be doing outreach in a B2B space. And so what that looks like is essentially you're reaching out directly to your prospects and you're trying to start conversations, and you're trying to have consultations, have sales meetings, or whatever your sales process looks like. And so these are some common questions that people will ask. I would say if you're looking at that time versus money, consideration, I would say that just do the answer to how many people you should contact is how much time do you have, how will you be able to find the contact details, and how will you send the messages. There are definitely tools out there that can help you accelerate that process and automate some of that activity. There's a cost to some of those tools. And then there's also a cost of finding contact information such as emails, right? So that's really got to continue to like this and find people. Or there's a lot of different ways to find that contact details online. So LinkedIn is the easiest way to get started, and that's because LinkedIn has the contact details already. So if you have a LinkedIn account, you can search somebody, you can find their titles. Like I was saying earlier, you can find all of those different bits of information about that person specifically, and then essentially you can start networking with them. There's a variety of ways you can do it. You can send them direct messages through the messenger side of LinkedIn, but you can also just interact with content that they're posting and things like that. So there's quite a few different tools that LinkedIn gives you and different options to be able to reach your prospects. And so if you did want to use a tool, these are some common tools. I will say as an agency, Spark Outbound, we are an expanding agency, so that's the tool we use. And we found it to be very convenient. And then we always recommend people, if you're going to go this route, at the very least, even if you're not going to use a tool, using LinkedIn Sales Navigator will get you access to a lot more information about your prospects. There's some more refinements when you're trying to search your audience. And also, you get emails. You get to send people emails, which means even if you're not connected to them, you can send them messages. The next step would be if you do have contact details, so meaning email addresses, email outreach is another option. And so this is where you're directly reaching out to people via their work email. So I would say when you're comparing the messaging strategies from LinkedIn to email, it's a little bit different there's a nuance that you have to take into account when you're messaging someone on LinkedIn. It's a social network, so you have it's a social conversation from the start. You also have your whole LinkedIn profile, so if you message somebody and they got questions about who you are, they can go check that out. When you're messaging somebody via email, you need to follow a little bit more of a formal process around how you're identifying who you are, why you're reaching out to them, what you want them to do. You need to make it much clearer. So you have to be concise, but you also have to really provide a why should they take the time to respond to you, and be a little bit more specific. And so there's also, so this is both email outreach tools, so the two on the left, and these are data companies. There are lots of data options out there that are not listed here. These are premium data companies, so these have high cost. There's a lot of other tools which may be, in the somewhere less than $100 a month to maybe just over $100 a month that will typically work with LinkedIn. And so you'll search on LinkedIn and then the tool will find the email address. The one thing I'll say is you do get kind of what you pay for because those tools will have a low match rate typically. So if you have 1,000 people in your LinkedIn search, a lot of times you're going to get 300 to 600 people back. Whereas if you use these premium tools, you run 1,000 people, they're going to have 1,000 people. That's their business model. So just keep that in mind. There are a lot of options. Doing things like this, networking events, is another great way to find contact details for your prospects. You already have a warm introduction with a conversation. But if you're going to go strictly from somebody who doesn't know who you obviously have to find their contact details. And then taking outreach to the kind of the conclusion is when you combine channels, right? So you're doing multi-channel. So maybe you're messaging on LinkedIn, you're messaging via email, and possibly also then at a certain point of your campaign, you're calling them on the phone. I would say the thing that takes the results next level from many of our clients who have initiated this process is when you've already emailed someone or messaged them on LinkedIn and you finish the phone and call them and you know they've opened your email, which is and tell you if they have, that significantly increases the results in the campaign. So that's just, we've seen that time and time again. Not every client we have does that, but the ones we do typically will see better results. And so priority 3, and I'm going to explain the logic of these priorities. So you need your messaging and you need to understand how to present yourself first. If you don't even have a website, you theoretically could do the LinkedIn outreach and email outreach because you're just messaging somebody directly. Obviously, having a digital presence will help, but you don't have to have it. You don't have to have a great digital presence. But once you start finding success and you're honing the message and you know that it's working, you know that you're able to generate prospects and you're able to turn them into clients, to scale that, priority 4 will be digital advertising. You cannot do digital advertising until your digital presence is in order, or you're just going to waste a lot of money because now you're basically spending money to send people to your digital presence. If it's not solid, if it doesn't explain who you are, they're not going to contact you, right? Because they're looking for that person who has that great representation of their business. And so within that, obviously, the website is the biggest part of that. But it also goes beyond that into some of the specifics into how you capture the information, the type of forms you're using. What happens if somebody gives you their information through a form? How are you following up with them? Do you have automated email processes in place? If you do sales calls or consultation calls or demos or things like that, how do they schedule that? Do you make that as an easy process, or does it have to be back and forth with emails? There's scheduling tools like Calendly or scheduling once that somebody can share a link and somebody, I'm sure all of us have used one of those before. And then even beyond that, like if somebody's interested, what's the proposal look like? Is it stay on brand? What's your proposal process? And then there's so many other content opportunities. That's all I'm going to really say on web presence. Web presence is a bigger thing. It's dependent on your business, your resources, what you're trying to accomplish. But and there's some places, I'll leave that there for a second. But the reason you really need this is because in our experience, the way you can really scale and take it to the next level is now when you start digital advertising, because digital advertising can take advantage of the broader market, people who are looking for your service. And also, you can go out and use things like Facebook ads or even LinkedIn ads to an extent to gain awareness for your business to a targeted audience. And so the easiest entry point into digital ads, period, is using a link form ad type. And so it's a little specific, but it's just a type of ad on all of the platforms have it. Facebook is the easiest example. So if you're scrolling through Facebook and you see an ad and you click it, essentially you would see a form pop up on Facebook. And so you submit the form right from there. And that goes, they didn't even actually have to come to your website. But with that same thing, those lead formats will be relatively inexpensive. Some of our clients have had $2 to get leads through lead forms on Facebook. Typically, it's somewhere in the $10 to $25 range. But you maybe have some less quality because they didn't come to your website and check you out and then fill out the form. So maybe it was too easy for some. But then beyond that, Facebook ads is in my opinion, best used as an awareness platform. It's best used once people come to your website or engage with your brand, that you can stay in front of them. And it's also gives you the ability to show people videos and images and so on and so forth. So you can really explain to people how you solve their problems. And why you are the solution to that problem. You also have the ability to just get them to like you, right, with some of your content. Google Ads, on the other hand, is primarily viewed as an intent-based platform. And so what that means is the person, if you think about somebody going on Google and searching for something, I'm looking for an accountant. They're looking for an accountant, right? They have an intent of finding a solution for what they search. The easiest thing is restaurants near me, right? They want to eat right now, so they're probably going to click something and then go to that restaurant or try to make that. So the same thing with B2B, it's intent driven. There's a lot of settings in the back of Google Ads that you can set up with audiences, so you're teaching people a little bit more about what you're trying to accomplish. Obviously, Google has courses for all that kind of stuff. But this is it's more expensive. So, beauty setting, really spending, and this is a wide range, but it could be just say $30 to $40 up to $200 for somebody to fill out a form on your website. But the logic there is that person is specifically looking for what you need. So they're going to have a higher percentage of closing that business because they were looking for what you did. They found your website. It was good enough for them to actually give you the information they want to take the next step. The biggest thing that we say with all digital ads and really all lead generation, including the outreach side of things, is to consider your real-world feedback. Don't get distracted on stats and numbers, right? It's important to just know your stats and numbers, but don't rely on those statistics to tell the whole story because they don't always. A good example is this. So if you have a flat budget, just say $1,000, and every month you spend $1,000, and this month you got 40 leads, and next month you got 50 leads for your $1,000. So a lot of people would tend to say, we did better this month because we got 10 more leads for the same budget. But in reality, without knowing where those 10 more good leads, you may have actually had 25 good leads the first month and 10 the second month, right? So we work with our clients and we do something we call the lead tracker document. So we take all the lead information and then we talk to the salesperson from our client's sales team to determine what's the quality of those leads. We then look back and see which campaign they may have come from and try to make adjustments. So if we start seeing trends of we're getting people looking for jobs, for instance, or we're looking for people in our franchising clients, example, looking for people who just want to work at the franchise, not buy the franchise. Then we have to make adjustments. So maybe it's make adjustments to the messaging. So that's where we cycle back to the messaging. Are we missing something in how we're presenting this? Or maybe it's making adjustments into the targeting or the audience that we're going after, so on and so forth. And then this is a great resource. If you do want to go into the Google Ads world, these are some good paid tools, some good free tools that can help you. Once again, you can get overwhelmed with some of these, but they can definitely actually help you understand what you're doing there. And then scaling. So I'm just going to say a couple of quick things on scaling. So you figure out your messaging, you're able to generate leads with outreach. you've started doing digital ads, you're getting results. What a lot of people will say is, hey, I just want to throw as much money as I can into this digital ad campaign, and if I spend 10 times more, I'm going to get 10 times more clients. And it will not work, especially in Google ads, it will not work. Google ads, Facebook ads is so much based on the algorithm, you have to keep teaching it. So you have to scale it slowly, basically. You have to give more budget, let the system understand how to deliver that budget. And then you have to do that it's going to take a few times. I would say never do more than double your budget. If it's a low end, if you have a higher budget, never double the $10,000 budget at one time, because it's just going to throw the campaign into disarray, unfortunately. So, and then always think about things seasonal, market-based things that are going to change. Understand, you got to keep a pulse on the market and how people are viewing whatever your service is at that time. And that is the end. So essentially, if we just recap, so it's starting from the messaging and the audience, you have to figure out that unique positioning, and then taking that all the way through being able to generate new business by directly going to your audience, and then essentially once you really hone in that messaging and what makes people do business with you, make sure that your digital presence represents that, and then that's your opportunity to now take that to the next step with digital graphics. So, does anybody have any questions? I think we have just a few minutes for a couple of questions. Oh, yes. So you're saying the campaign is not performing well, and this is an ad campaign? Yeah, so we always start focusing, is this Google ad or what type ads? Facebook ads. Okay. And are you using video or images with your ad? Okay. So what we would typically do is, so two things. We would revisit the audience so the ads that you're targeting, we would revisit that and we would segment that to multiple variations. So we would start testing the audience targeting, and simultaneously we would look at the creative and then the messaging. So the creative being the video or the images, and then the copy, so the text in the ad, and make sure that what the objective you're trying to achieve is clearly communicated in the ad. We found that the creative catches the attention, that's the purpose of the creative, but the text is, if people have essentially stopped to view the video or they look at the image and they click to read all the text in the ad, that text is telling them what they should do. And so we found that small changes to that text can make a big difference, because if we're not clear what we want them to do or why they should do it, we may not get the result. But to sum that up, it's two things in Facebook ads always. It's testing the audience and testing the messaging. And so we would essentially build that out in probably 4 to 6 small tests. And I would not increase the budget. So I think that's what you're asking, should we increase the budget? Yeah. So you have to understand what is your maximum budget, and you have to understand what is your goal number of results, and determine what would that equal as a cost per result. So if you have $100 maximum budget and you need 10 people, then you can spend $10 per person. And then you run smaller tests until you get the result at $10 per person, and then increase the budget. Spending more money will not get more results. Anyone else? Yes. Yeah, so we view generally digital advertising as holistic. So we view, as I mentioned earlier, Facebook, for instance, is an awareness focused channel or a lead engagement channel. That's how we view it. We also view things like Google Ads as more the intent driver or more closely to the conversion driving factors. So we, if you look at any one channel individually, for instance, with Facebook and or also running Google Ads, you have to take into account non-trackable attribution. So I know that doesn't make sense, but basically there's things that Facebook can impact on Google. So your organic search or your paid ad search that will not show up in analytics and won't show up in the reports. A good example of that is we have an e-commerce client. We only do one e-commerce client we have. So they had somebody come in and analyze their data and found that Instagram was actually driving direct conversions, not Facebook. We told them, we were like, we don't see it the same way, but we did a test and we paused Facebook, put all their Facebook budget to Instagram. Their sales overall went down. And so what happened was we were driving so much awareness of the product on Facebook, and people were seeing their ads and their videos and immediately going to Amazon and searching for the product name or going to Google and searching for the product name. They never clicked the Facebook ad, right? So the answer to that question is it's not cut and dry and straightforward, but in general, we always say 60 to 90 days to really start to understand how all this is playing together. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Yes. So if you're thinking of Google Analytics, if they clicked the Facebook ad and came to your site, that's a whole. Right. No, so unfortunately, so the question was, would you be able to essentially go back and find that person when they just saw you on Facebook? And specifically, you mentioned 3 pages. That borders on, that's a privacy law issue, and so that's all changing and going away. Unfortunately, that is a hole in the current world of analytics, because the current world now requires an action to track an action. And so in this case, unfortunately, no, you can't, you can assume, like running a test like I was just describing, you can assume, but you can't know that. That's why we look at it as holistically. We base it around logic, like we build the campaigns, the outreach campaigns, everything, it all works together. And all the activities funnel, even the outreach, right? You can send somebody an email. They open the email, so you do know they opened the email, but they didn't click to your site. They Googled you, and then they went from Google search. So in analytics, it would just be an organic search person on Google. But we, essentially multi-channel or doing all these activities together. If you have a logical reason, a logical goal, you have to trust the logic of it and use as much of the analytics as possible. But that's the thing, everybody wants to attribute everything. One day we'll be there, maybe. It all works together, yeah. Everything. It's the same principles of marketing that have always existed. Exactly. You got to get in front of it. Yes, sir. What type of app is it? Transportation app? I mean, that is not a specialty of mine, so I'm going to speculate. But like Google has app install campaigns which display on mobile devices. I don't want to go too far, and that, like I said, that's not my expertise, but I would say Google, cost may be an issue, part of the acquisition, but that's a specific type of campaign for that purpose. So I would maybe then lean towards there, Facebook as well as, as a good option. I would always go towards, if you have the budget, I would always go towards the conversion, the closest path to conversion, which in that case would be an Apple stock. Conversion just generally is whatever your objective is, they do. So if my objective is to fill out a form, in your case, they download the app. If you're in the Google Play Store, the Apple, the Apple Store.
Thank you, Jonathan. So let's put our hands together for Jonathan Sellers from Spark Outbound. And I can already tell that we're going to have to do a few more webinars and workshops in our building. We have a landmark building at 20 West 44th, and the whole thing has been decked out with digital marketing. So we'll do that, and thank you very much. I see here we have Kevin McCullough. Before you go, I want you to go down and interview with him. He's going to say a few words about his radio station. I think you're going to be streaming live. Sync Media personality and syndicated talk host, coast to coast. Kevin McCullough's here. Sailor Media operates flagship stations in New York. The Answer, The Mission on AM, 970 AM, 570 AM. Great, informative, timely business topics, family topics, health topics. I was just talking to the Department of Health and Human Services, and as I listened to your show, there's a match between everything that people need. This station is standing up for the answers. And I've known Kevin now for a decade, and he and I both, he's lost weight, I've gained the weight, and we both lost a hair or two. The information that this man shares with us every day, drive time, and his podcast is well known. He's going to be running this show here live from the Hilton up on the east side. So I'd like you to say a few words. We're going to start taping at 1 o'clock, so if you need to have something to say, of course, some of our celebrity here and our keynote speakers are going to be interviewed, but I think we're also going to be doing further interviews at the chamber and feed them into the show. So come by the booth sometime between 1 and 2 and watch the show.
Thank you, Mark. Can we give Mark Jeffrey a nice round of applause for putting this great thing together? And how does it feel to be back in person with each other? That's a good thing, isn't it? I mean, we're tired of all the virtual stuff. Hey, thank you for having me. I want to talk about 6 brief points and then let you go back and enjoy the rest of the event today. If you are here today, I think it's because you probably have something that you want other people to know about. An idea, a service, a product, maybe a new way of doing things that nobody else has ever thought of before, etc. I also believe that there is something that you want for that thing that you have. Any wild guesses? A lot of people to find that thing, idea, or product that you have. Services that they need from you, etc. So you've got your idea, you've got your service, you've got your products, and a lot of people need to find you, they need to engage with you, you need to convert them. The goal is not to just do the same thing with fewer results, it's to maximize those results. So what do you need in order to make that happen? Something real simple. A lot of verticals that bring you people, right? Every business owner, you're looking for new business. The business of business is new business. And if you're not continually bringing the new business, then you're going out of business. So where do you find the verticals for those new customers, those new business relationships, those new ways to get those people engaged, found, and converted to what you have? It's very simple. You talk to people that have platforms and you engage media and you engage influence. Media is real simple. It's radio, it's TV, it's print, it's digital, it's podcasts, It's geo-targeting. It's over-the-top television. It's expanded a lot from what it used to be, just in print, broadcast, etc. But what about finding that media and the influencers on that media that you can use? Just some simple ideas. Salem Media of New York this year, we are proud supporters of the New York Greater Chamber. We have partnered with Mark for a number of years. And let me just tell you some of the things that we have that we can put to work for your business to make your business more engaged, more found, convert more customers. Here's what we've got. 2 AM radio signals in New York City, the largest radio market on planet Earth, and 1 FM signal. That's 3 radio stations right here broadcasting 24 hours a day. We've got streaming listenership that is not the same listeners that listen to those radio stations. We've got streams in every streaming aggregator across the digital universe, and those people are engaged with us on a whole different level. They listen when they want to, where they want to. They don't have to be in the car with Hampshire radio. They're listening with this device. Most of them are. In addition to that, we've got digital assets that will help you target customers geographically. You know something about where you want your customers to come from, but maybe you want to target them from a specific area. Maybe you want to target something that they're interested in. Maybe you want to reach into a group of people by age or sex or interests. We have digital assets that can do all of that for you. Go right where you want to go and find the people that you're trying to find and pull them towards you to help you find them, engage them, and convert them. In addition to that, we've got audiences that listen to podcasts that don't even follow the stream. You talk about really on-demand listenership. They want their show when they want it, not when it's necessarily scheduled. But we've got podcast audiences that are growing. And finally, we've got this thing called OTT television. Apple TV, Roku, have you heard of those devices? They plug into your TV, they use your internet, they don't require a signal, but you can get almost anything under the planet. We have ways to reach those audiences as well. That's what we have to help you find what you need, which are the verticals of customers to come do your thing, find your service, find your product. We can find those verticals with our assets. And here's the last thing. Here's what we do. We take those assets, we tell them about your product, service, or idea. They become your customer. Now, those of you that are here, I would like you to meet a friend of mine. She's one of our best client liaisons at Salem Media of New York, Joyce Becker. Wave your hand right there. Everybody give Joyce a big round of applause. Thank you, Joyce. And I've come bearing gifts today. If you are interested in an advertising program at up to 50% off the cost that could rank digital, radio, those assets that target geographically or by interest or by sex, Joyce has the ability to cut that deal for you. She'll craft a custom program for your company, discount it up to 50%, and get you across all the platforms I just told you about. What do you have to lose except bringing those verticals of customers to your people? Joyce, raise your hand one more time. We have 20 spots to give away at the half price discount. First 20 people to see Joyce, starting now, get those discounts. Kevin McCullough is my name. I'll be broadcasting at the other end of the hall in just a minute. Thank you for having us. Congratulations to the Chamber. And Mark, it's all yours.
But I see nothing wrong with to Karen and Wendy. Just to say,
Put it together for Kevin McCullough. How can I follow him? Now we know why he's syndicated and why he's listened to. And Joyce Becker from Salem Media, please stand up. Thank you, Joyce, for all you do for small businesses and all our sponsors and members. So we're setting up now for the Taste of New York. In about 10 minutes, those of you with VIP wrist bracelets, please come on down. We have Kamari Taverna and
but how it works.
one of the best Greek seafood restaurants on the planet. Locations here in New York City and Washington, D.C. We also have Hourglass Bistro and Exio Cantina. And later on, I think we're going to send John Sedaris down, an up-and-coming entrepreneur, to be interviewed on
We're working on it, you know.
Kevin McCullough Show.
I'm at Big Expo in Madison Gardens, in the stadium, and somebody took it away, and I don't let it go. But and because you have to separate. I don't know if Yankees own the stadium because I think there's a department in New York where they probably some. And then there's the Yankees